This podcast is produced by Visionary Studios. Hey everyone, I'm Mitchell Rail, and welcome back to Let's Unpack That. Today I'm joined by my friend Ryan Kuechler. Welcome back, Ryan.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. So Ryan was here a few months ago.
Yes.
But now he's coming back to a little guest host moment. But Ryan, what have you been up to since we last saw you?
A few things. Got a new job since last time we were here, and I'm actually moving back to Arizona, so lots of things are happening.
Exciting. Love that for you. Love it. The guest this week is one of my first childhood friends when I first moved to my hometown. We literally used to play Barbies and Polly Pockets together. Today, I am so excited to have Isabel Ocampo here joining us. Isabel, how are you doing? Welcome.
Thank you. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course. We're so happy to have you here. Isabel, I want to give you the first question that I give everybody. Do you want to give everyone a little bit of background on who you are and where you're from?
Yeah, so Isabel, thank you for having me. Obviously, you know me. We grew up in the same town together in Wisconsin. Then afterwards, kind of left immediately for college. Lived in New York for a couple of years. Graduated about a year ago, and I now live out in LA. I work in political campaigns. I do fundraising, so that has been an exciting job, very challenging. But I really like working in politics. Then I come home once or twice a year.
She comes home and does some charity work real quick. Clearly, you were in that small town. You jumped and you were like, let me get out of that place.
Yes.
As soon as I can, I want to be in a big city that's fast-paced, lots going on. Very opposite of small-town Wisconsin. But let's start in small-town Wisconsin. What was your experience like growing up there and then coming into yourself as a bi individual?
Yeah, so my experience growing up was fine. Like, I feel like I had good childhood memories, good little hometown, like small town experience in the Midwest. Loved all my friends in my neighborhood, like Mitch. I think it was just, when I got to high school, kind of like everyone else, you start to like get into your identity and, decide what kind of person you want to be. I didn't realize I was queer until like the very end of high school, but just other things. I felt like our hometown was very conservative, and I just like had very different values and ideology, and it was sometimes hard to like, I don't know, align that with other people, or like I don't think it really affected my friendships that much, but it like started to as I got older.
You said that you realized that you were queer towards the end of high school. What was that moment like for you?
It's funny that you say moment, because it very much was a moment where it was like just all at once. It was a specific person. Walk into a coffee shop one day, see this girl, and I was like, oh my God.
It's giving Hallmark movie. Like.
It was. It's giving Hallmark movies.
I'm imagining slow motion.
It was.
She comes around the
Small
corner.
town.
No, she listens to this. She'll literally know who she is. She'll know. And I was just like, oh my God. And like, I definitely did create an identity crisis for a bit. Like, there were a couple months when I just was like thinking about that moment and talking to this one individual, because it was the first time I'd ever experienced attraction to a woman. And so, and I did struggle with that. And I don't know, and it was weird that I was struggling, because I always was like, Ella, like, I had a lot of queer friends, but it's just like, I just like had never thought about it before. And so I was like, is this real? But it was. I gave it a chance. I kind of just tried to like sit with that feeling and like just let, think about it more. And it turned out to be a real valid feeling.
Well, that's great. I mean, as you started to like have more romantic interactions with girls, was there anything that kind of surprised you when it came to like comparing it to your past experiences with guys? What was different for you?
I definitely do feel like the relationships are different. I don't know. It's hard to put into words exactly why or what it is. With the few women I have dated, I haven't dated that many, the communication styles are different, like off the bat. Like, I don't know. It's like sometimes I feel like talking to women, even that I'm romantically interested in, we often just talk like friends and like talk like how girls talk to each other. So that was a little bit different of like trying to like understand my like romantic feelings when I'm like, I also feel like you're my friend. And like getting through that in like the first couple years of like being queer and by like navigating that. And I will say, like, I have not had a serious like long-term relationship with a woman, so I guess I don't know how that would be. But just kind of like the communication was a little bit different, but the connection was the same, and that's why I knew it was real. Because to me, I was like, okay, I feel the same way I've like felt towards men, and like the romantic connection ultimately like is similar.
Would you be open to like a long-term relationship with a woman in the future?
Yes, I'd love that. I would love that. Yeah.
So did you come out to like your friends and family before you moved to New York, or?
I started to. So I came out to a few of my friends before moving to New York. Kind of came out to family, but like not to everyone. And then I moved to New York. I went to a historically women's college. So it was like, it's like New York City, women's college, very queer friendly. Everyone was very open and welcoming. So I was so excited to go with like this new identity, just kind of like wanting to explore my feelings more. Started going to like queer, meetings or whatever, and I don't know how to say meetings, like meetups, I guess, so like to meet other like queer first years, and like started going on dates with girls in my class, and then I went on a date with a guy in my class, and then I dated him for 4 years. And that was just what happened, and I think I was about to say like, oh, I fell back into like dating men, but I don't want to say that because I think there's also like this, I don't know.
Stereotype?
Yeah, I guess. Or like, I don't know, like there's this discussion in like the queer women community, how about like bi girls like go back to men, and I don't know, I don't want to frame it like that. Like
It's almost like people try to invalidate the identity.
Yeah, exactly.
I think because people that do invalidate it often, I feel like they don't understand. So do you kind of want to shed some light on kind of when you're talking to a girl and then maybe you see in your situation you had this connection with a guy, like how would you feel like that switch happens? Like, is it just a moment of like, oh, I'm just more attracted to this person? Or like, how do you kind of process that? Because I think a lot of people struggle to get their head around it's possible to be attracted to more than one gender.
I don't know. I think for me, like, it's just people. Like, I don't know. I can like have connections with like many types of people and like regardless of gender. I will say I do also feel like I have weird phases where I just like will be more attracted to feminine people and then like more attracted to masculine people, but it doesn't change how I like feel about a group of people or like one gender on the whole. But yeah, like being attracted to men as a bi woman or like dating a man, like a cis man as a bi woman, it never took away like the potential for like attraction to women as well.
Okay. So what kind of sparked that move to LA for you?
To live with a man. To live with my boyfriend. Honestly. Yeah, but also I wanted like a change of pace. I didn't just, do it without thinking about it or anything. And I loved New York. I think New York is an amazing city and like so accessible and just so many like cool things to do and cool people. But I just didn't love living there, and I love living in LA. So it ended up being a really good move and a good decision in the end. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, because I'm moving out of Chicago, so sometimes the city can be like absolutely crazy, and like you need to have an escape plan. I always say, like when you're living in the city, you need somewhere you can like leave and like go somewhere close where you're not hearing sirens and beeping car horns and like it's crazy sometimes. So it's definitely, I think everyone needs to live in like a chill place and a city to like kind of realize what both are like.
Yeah. For me, New York had just like an overwhelming feeling. Like I just was always kind of overstimulated and just like it was very intense. And I honestly felt really lonely in New York. And I don't know what exactly cultivated that, but a lot of people I've talked to who also lived in New York, like in Manhattan specifically, felt the same. It'd just be like the abundance of people that are surrounding you, but like you're not really connecting with. It's also just hard to get out. Like Manhattan's huge, but it's also like you feel like you're on an island.
Yeah, because you are.
Yeah, because you are. And it's like kind of hard to get out. Whereas LA, like
you can just drive anywhere.
You can, yeah. It's more spacious. It's like the urban sprawl.
Spread out a little bit more.
Yeah, it can be good or bad, but I feel more free to go around.
LA's different. You have the beach, the mountains, you can go skiing. You can do
Very
anything.
versatile.
Very versatile. Manhattan's
versatile.
like you're in the city, or maybe you go to Long Island for the beach, or like maybe you go upstate, but like that's like a trek, and like it's a journey.
Yeah, it is. It's so easy in LA.
So once you moved to LA, is that kind of when you started your work on like political campaigns, or when did that come into play for you?
I started more in an official capacity when I was still in college in New York. I just did an internship at like the state party in Wisconsin, the Democratic Party. And I did fundraising for them, and it was surprisingly fun, even though it was like very easy, kind of boring work. I just liked seeing the campaign side of things, and I'd always like been kind of politically active, or like tried to be, like in college and in high school. But I liked, actually like doing, like working on a campaign. So, but yeah, when I moved to LA, I took like my first official job and started doing fundraising for a candidate.
I mean, obviously fundraising is what fuels a campaign, right?
Yes.
Like having that money, you can't do anything without it. Give people a little peek behind the curtain when it comes to campaigns. Obviously, everyone sees the ads, everyone gets those phone calls that
Those text
makes
messages,
their head wanna
everything.
explode.
Yeah.
But when you're trying to get funds for a candidate, what is that like? How do you do that?
I want to say I'm so sorry. I am the person who sends the emails and the texts. And it's like, we need $3 by midnight. Please
help
Mitch.
We're counting on you. Like those like crazy like all caps.
Exactly.
Our picture of the candidate.
Yeah.
Can we count on you? But it's like, it feels like desperation station, like every time, like nearing the end of the quarter, and like obviously as we get closer to the election, like that is literally how it feels. I'm not just doing that to like annoy people. I'm like, I literally need you. So, and yeah, it's like money does fuel campaigns, and it is frustrating because I think it is a horrible system. There's too much money in politics. These views are also my own, not that of any political candidate. I'm going to say that, or any campaign I may ever work on. But there's a lot of money in politics, as a fact. And like my family members would ask me, like, okay, you're raising a lot of money for this campaign. Like, does that mean you're going to win? Or like, why didn't you win? And it is because having a lot of money just allows you to have a chance to win, and that's it. So like if you don't have the money, like there's just no chance. Like nothing you do is really going to matter in most cases. Obviously this is a big generalization. And there have been some like successful lower dollar grassroots campaigns. But that is the general rule. It's like you need money to even have a chance.
So you were working on political campaigns in LA most recently.
Yes.
You were working on a race in Orange County, correct?
Yes.
So what was it like trying to get a Democratic candidate in a more like conservative area of the state, which may surprise people when they think that, oh, it'll be easy for a Democrat to win in California?
It's tough. And you're right. I think that was a lot of what we would hear from people out of state was like, you don't need more money from me. Like, you're in California, there's enough money there, you're Democrat, you're gonna win. You know, I think honestly being from Mukwonago in Wisconsin like has offered a really good perspective, because when I went to New York and went to college, I kind of got into the mindset of like, no one knows what they're talking about. Obviously, like my views are the right ones. Like all I want to do is help people. So like, of course I'm right. And anyone who's conservative is like wrong. And I think after graduating and kind of being back in politics and like being in this more conservative area, I did do a lot of reflecting on like where we grew up in Wisconsin. And that really helped a lot in understanding like what people want. Because it's hard, like where I come from, and like my politics is a place of like, well, I just want everyone to be happy and have like the most success in life and just like be taken care of, like have healthcare and have food and have housing. Like I think those are basic needs we all need to have. So I'm like, how could anyone not want that? I think at the end of the day, like people do want that. Like everyone just wants to be happy and have a good life. And it's just like how we go about it or like think is the right way is different. And I don't think that like anyone is evil. Mm-hmm. For having like even a completely opposite viewpoint of me.
What is it like working on a campaign? Like what are your day-to-day things? Are you always calling people? Are you like helping them put together events? Like what's like a typical day in the life working on a campaign?
Day in the life, I guess. At least on the fundraising side, it's different because like you have different aspects of a campaign team, and there's people who are like organizers who are going out in the field and like getting volunteers, doing voter contact and like really ramping up for election day, of course, like we all are. But then on the fundraising side, the day-to-day is like, it is writing those emails and those text messages to try and get more money from people. It's doing like donor outreach and donor prospecting, following up with folks, just kind of like building connections with donors, those who have already given or, you know, prospects. And event planning is also part of it, which is really fun. I love doing the events. And yeah, just like coordinating with folks in the area. I think that's the most fun because I love talking to people and like actually being out and like just connecting with people and talking about politics. So I do love our fundraisers because most of the day, honestly, I'm just like in a little room by myself, just like.
How do you guys find my phone number to text me? Because like buy lists.
I'm not gonna tell you. It's actually not that hard though. Like I will say, it's not that hard.
Well, Isabel, to kind of close up here, if you were to give advice to that version of Isabel in high school who is just realizing that she was queer, what would you tell her?
To anyone feeling confused about their identity, like for me, if you thought you were straight for a lot of your life and then questioning that, obviously nothing wrong with you. It's very normal. You probably aren't straight if you're questioning it, is what I would always tell people. And it's just kind of like, it's a spectrum, you know, and like everyone experiences attraction differently. And I think it's totally okay to explore that. And at the end of the day, it's like you identify how you want to. If you feel like there's might be like I don't know, like you're a cis person, you feel like a little bit of attraction to like the same gender. But at the end of the day, you're like, it's just not what I feel. Like that's okay. You can be like whatever you want. What I struggled with was like validation from other people and just how I appeared as a queer person, because to my friends it was fine. Like everyone got it. I have a lot of queer friends and a lot of bi friends. So when I was dating like the cis man for a while, I didn't really have to like justify it or explain it to people close to me. But I think from the outside, like from family members and like friends I just wasn't as close with, like it really bothered me at first. It bothered me for like quite a few years that people weren't seeing me as queer. And I didn't really know how to cope with that. But I think what I realized is like it doesn't really matter like to me. And it might matter to some people and that's okay. But like I am more than just like I'm more than just queer, and like exactly. I'm more than just what my romantic attraction is to people. And said like if some people are gonna see me as a straight person, like it's kind of fine at the end of the day. Like I've gotten over it.
Really control them, what they
yeah.
think,
And then if I like do date a woman ever, and then people see me as queer, like that's great too. And that is a part of me. But it hasn't become like it's not my whole world anymore. I think it was when I first started like exploring my identity. It was my entire world.
Yeah.
And so it was really frustrating when people didn't acknowledge that. But
I think that's really good advice because your identity is valid and you can't let other people invalidate that. Well, thank you so much, Isabel, for being here. Do you want to give everyone your socials so they can follow you?
Yes. My Instagram, I think that's all I have is Instagram.
Okay.
Is Isabel Ocampo. Yeah, I don't post that much about anything interesting. Thank you. I try to keep pictures.
It's like casual, effortless. It's like you're also slaying though. So it's like it's a perfect vibe. 10 out of 10 I recommend the follow. Thank you so much, Isabel, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. And you guys can follow us on Instagram at UnpackTHT and on TikTok at UnpackThatPod. Thank you so much, Ryan, as well for being here. And we'll see you guys next Thursday. Bye everyone.
Bye.